Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today I'm going to deal with some questions from the audience. I'm going to grab three from three different videos. Before I do, let's open these 8 daily chests. And before I do that, my name is Dwayne Cunningham. I go by Infidel 1258. You can call me 12. I go through my comment section regularly. Leave comments below. Leave your IGN if you can. There might be situations where I send a little thank you. Okay, let's get the 8 chests here. I've been getting really lucky lately. Let's see if it keeps going. I had an epic gold foil yesterday, the day before, legendary the day before that, gold foil legendary, I think the day or before that. At least I got an epic, got some SPS, some quality cards, fire collar, dry bone. I'm pretty sure now my dry bone should be maxed out. Ooh, I got 76 end of season chests to open, and there's still a day and a bit to go until the end. That's going to be one of my better seasons in a while. We're going to do the comment section, but I just quickly want to check out that dry bone, because it might have been leveled up. Let's see. Nope, not quite. Okay, go to the comment section. I'm going live tomorrow. Oof, by the time at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, August 30th, I'll be live for my members only. If you're a member of the YouTube channel, you're invited. If you're not, you can become a member. Check out the, I think it's called the membership page on the YouTube channel. And if you want to get involved, then you'll be welcome at the weekly lives that are private. Okay, let's grab Kingbo's comment. I haven't seen Kingbo in a minute. Kingbo subscribed for a year, has been here for a long while, like constant comments. Appreciate you, Kingbo. He's commenting on my notes with respect to the new C-Rec card. Let's just quickly pull up that image. The C-Rec right here is an exceptional card. I like it a lot. It's subject to change. My video in short says it's an excellent card. I think it's probably a little overpowered. They do want an overpowered card because they want to move more Chaos or Rift Washer packs. But I think this could be tweaked in some minor respects. Maybe 1 hit point, maybe 1 melee damage output. Maybe you could, if you really want to nerf it, you take away either archery, return fire, or magic reflect, one or the other, not both. Or even removing amp damage would be a very substantial, impactful nerf. So those are some of the nerfs I could imagine happening to a card like this that would pull it back. And I would say 1 hit point might be the minor. So let's see what the commenter says. Kingbo says, Possibilis, C-Rec, Fatfish, Kulus, Mastermind might be a fun. Tough to get through those two, especially in a no sneaks rule set. Gonna be a lot of fun to try out the combos, absolutely. Every time we get a new card, a new monster, a new deck, it's so fun. This game is amazing, guys. It's amazing. It's been years and I'm still pumped to play it, still pumped to talk about it every single day. I was talking to a friend in real life the other day and I was saying, it's amazing that I get to talk about this game that I enjoy. Like, I would do this for nothing, but I get the opportunity to do it as an outlet for creativity and for just the joy of the process. But then simultaneously, you guys are down to hang out. I love it and I appreciate it. So thank you. But after so many years, the fact that the mechanism of the game, the collectible card game element, that can be expanded and grown with new packs and new promo cards and new airdrops, which can excite and reinvigorate the player base. It's so awesome. And Kingbo gets it. I get it. I think you get it too. That's why you're hanging out. Possibilis with the reach. C-Rec. Yeah, I guess you'd put C-Rec in the first spot. Fatfish. Let me see. I don't know who you mean when you say Fatfish. Go over to buy. We're going to focus in on... Let's go like this. Let's go neutral and water. And then we're going to focus in on melee specifically. This Possibilis gives you that reach damage. I think you might be talking Deep Lurker when you say Fatfish. Kulu Mastermind. That's another opportunity monster. But you say in a no sneak rule set. So the no sneak, I think the no sneak rule set, I'm pretty sure nerfs opportunity. Am I wrong about that? I think it might. I don't want to do a whole deep dive on the game mechanic here, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. gameplay rule set. It would be the one that's no sneak. Yeah, that's Fog of War, and it definitely excludes opportunity. Where does it say? Monsters lose sneak and snipe abilities. What? Use monsters with opportunity. Keep your monsters. I thought they specifically changed this. I thought Fog of War used to allow opportunity and no longer. So I guess I'm either mistaken or this is outdated. Yeah, I feel like this is outdated. I need to know this. We're going down a rabbit hole here, guys. Okay. I'm not going to be able to pull that up. If you guys know the answer to this, if I'm wrong about this, does opportunity fire in Fog of War? I just didn't believe that it did. I didn't know that it did. I thought it was specifically was changed. Apologies if I'm wrong. Let's carry on. Mastermind, that's the other opportunity one, isn't it? The deep lurkers are not big. The fat fish is an opportunity. And then Mastermind. Feasting Seaweed too is an opportunity monster. I love putting in with those. Deep lurker, opportunity. And there he is, Cooler Mastermind, opportunity with the reach. I would do that differently. You know, when I'm looking at a melee play with Possibilis and trying to wrap in the new monster, the new Sea Wreck, I think I might like a Kraken in the first spot, a Sea Wreck in the second spot, using Possibilis to enable the reach, giving you more time to survive, more time to trigger the Bloodlust. And the Kraken can be so obviously resilient and powerful. It can last a long time because of all those extra hit points. And then the taunt enables you to do maybe an opportunity play as you're suggesting while trusting that you're not going to be sneak attacked or opportunity attacked yourself. You've got your taunt in the way. And then you would probably bring like your Medalli Guardian, which I said in the video, three costs, you get the heal and the repair. And then probably I would bring, you know, Crustacean King to give me that extra heal and the extra fortification. That's probably a play I would prefer. But yeah, absolutely, this new card's going to be amazing. I'm excited to see how it is used also. Let's carry on. Okay, this is a comment I saw earlier. I didn't get a chance to reply. Let's get into it. Eric M391 says, with respect to a video I recently did where I did an FAQ video of this nature where I tackled 3 comments, one of which was, I talked about LAM 1.5. I talked and how it can launch well. I talked about bearishness within Splinterlands, or the surviving the bear market, and then even the mobile app and how, I guess, problematic it's been. And Eric says, I think honestly the biggest concern for the game is the ability of Steam Monsters Inc. to continue as a going concern. They routinely talk about their runway and how they have X, Y, and Z for crypto assets. Aggie is the CEO and therefore has a fiduciary duty to the rest of the shareholders. And that fiduciary duty is being thrown out the window with the company's funds being held in crypto. The cash being used to actually run the business and pay wages should not be in crypto. The ability of the company to continue should have zero to do with the bull run in crypto other than more players being attracted to the game. This is an interesting comment because in some ways I agree, and in other ways I definitely disagree. How do I agree with it? I mean, what he's saying is prudent, right? You know, you would love to have whatever safety net Splinterlands is relying upon, whatever financial safety net they have saved, put aside for a rainy day. You'd love to know it's X number of US dollars because we know the wages of the team is paid in USD. But here's the thing, you're talking about a crypto game with crypto degens that have like long ago were convinced that crypto was going to change the world and have ridden that wave for many years now. I think Agro recently said he got into crypto in 2016. And I don't know Matt's story exactly, but you know, we're talking guys who believe in Bitcoin, who believe in Ethereum, who've seen where this has gone and they have a vision for where it's going to go. So I don't think what you're asking for is realistic within the context of who we're dealing with. And then it's like, are you asking the crypto degens who create games where you get rewarded with crypto to suddenly stop believing in the very thing that they're producing and that they're aiming at sort of multiplying its reach of? Because if they didn't believe in crypto, they wouldn't make the game the way they did. And so I can't really. It's as if you're speaking prudence, which is fair. I get that. But then you're approaching things from a perspective of like disbelief or bearishness towards crypto broadly, especially with Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is where their holdings are largely held. And I just don't see, I can't imagine how those words would ever be received and you know, I can't ever imagine them following this advice. And that's part of who they are and what this game is. And then let's go one step further, because you might say, well, you might say that that's a problem. That's Aggie and Matt are too blind to the risks they're exposing. And you kind of point to that. You talk about the fiduciary duty, and you talk about how they have a responsibility to their shareholders and etc. The problem is when you talk about, I don't think technically Splinterlands has no shareholders. Steam Monsters Inc. has no shareholders. People bought SPS. They are, you might argue, shareholders. But from the world's perspective, we are not. This is not a security. It might one day be claimed to be, but it's not. There is a board that oversees it. And you might argue that they, as deep investors, have some sort of, that Agrit has a fiduciary duty to their best interests, but clearly he's meeting with them and he is aiming at their best interests. And he said in a recent town square, I think, might have been the town hall, that when they have concerns that he disagrees with, they all work it out. So sometimes he will disagree with their practices and their requests and their expectations, and they'll sort it out. And sometimes he will surrender and sort of acquiesce to their requests. So it's clear that the interested parties whose voices are who have been brought and invited to the table are being heard, and it's generally speaking agreed that Bitcoin and Ethereum are here to stay, at least by most voices. Maybe not yours, Eric. Maybe, Eric, you feel like that those were doomed for far lower numbers. If you have concerns about crypto just ending, then you should have concerns about Splinterlands. That might sound like a bearish comment. That might sound like a go somewhere else comment. It's not intended to be. I think I've attempted to answer and speak to the prudence of your comment, but then I've also said these people aren't going to hear that. And I think I've even articulated why they might feel justified in not hearing that. But lastly, I just want to wrap with this idea that if you do not believe in Bitcoin at 27,000 and Ethereum at like 1,1800, whatever it's at, I'm not saying that it has to go up or it will go up. I'm just saying if long-term you're bearish on those assets, I don't see how one could be bullish on Splinterlands, an NFT-based video game where you receive cryptocurrency and NFTs for your time and attention. Either this space thrives and Bitcoin and Ethereum will be at the helm of that amazing growth, or this space falls apart. And in that case, their investment in Bitcoin and Ethereum are not going to be relevant to the overall growth and sustainability. That's my view. I think that's the view of anybody who is sort of deeply invested or who's been here long enough to really grow the confidence, faith that many of us have in those major tokens. And again, that doesn't mean it can't go down. It doesn't mean that the team can't be in sort of peril like you're saying. But man, if you're trying to convince these guys and this team that they should hold USD, I think you're barking up the wrong tree. Even if ultimately your words would probably be more prudent than holding the crypto. I hope that makes sense. Thank you for the comment. Get one more. Amazing daily rewards. In this one, I did like a 2-minute, 3-minute video showing my daily rewards. There was a fun reward in that one, actually. It's low reviews. If you want, go check it out. I won't ruin what happened in that one, but I will tell you, Carl is I am exhausted in that one. That was a fun, it was a really, like it was, I was so tired. It had like that delirious laughter. So check it out. Let's get one more because that was just an itty bitty comment. Different video. Okay, here we go. What is my biggest concern in Splinterlands today? I talked about in this video how, I think I talk about in that video how if land 1.5 isn't what we expected, I don't know what they're going to do next. I think that was my thesis there, my sort of comment on that title. What my biggest concern is that if this doesn't work, I don't know what will. I think, in fact, it's going to be 2.0, land 2.0. That's going to be the next big thing if 1.5 isn't what we want it to be. And that's not going to be very satisfying. So I believe that's what that video was about. Let's see what Cedric says. Cedric, Desmarais, 1418. Desmarais. I may be wrong, but I'd like to hear you about my calculations from land white paper stats. If you have an average land and an average 5 workers, 5 common maxed out, 400 BCX each, if land was 10% active, 15,000 plots. Yeah, it's closer to 12,000 plots, Cedric, because not all the plots have even been surveyed. So 10% of activity would be around 120,000 plots. 10% of that is about 12,000. So, but let's go forward. And then you say 10% activity, we would get around 12.5 SPS per day. So around 22 cents. Is that right? Yeah, give or take, right? SPS price right now is what? 1.8 cents. Yeah, you're in the ballpark. Okay, let's carry on. So maybe 22 cents a day. My concern is if you decide to produce SPS instead of grain, you still have to feed your workers for the same amount of grain. In this case, 5x workers, 1,000 PP each, would need 1,200 grain to feed them per day. 0.01 times 5,000 PP at a rate of 1 DEC per grain. That means $1.20 to expend per day. In this case, you make 20 cents of SPS, but you are down $1. Is it just me or I missed something? Sounds wrong. No, I think you're actually right. Now, I did quickly run that through. Also, like I'm reading it and I'm not like really fully processing it, but I believe you're accurate in what you said. But you have to recognize that the format, the process through which SPS is being created is transforming. So now there is this immediately, like all the SPS that was being printed for holding a plot of land is gone and ending, and it'll only be given to those who actively move their plots. So I think that transforms the amount of liquidity reaching the marketplace, and that therefore should impact price positively. That's the first part, that I'm saying SPS should go up on the launch of land 1.5 because of how SPS is being handed out. If there's less reaching the market, and the supply stays static, then the price should go up. That's my first sort of feedback. It's not a critique exactly, it's just a feedback. And then I think you have to just, but you're not wrong. And I think we all have to know what you're saying, because it means we have to farm for grain. It's going to be far cheaper to produce the grain yourself, in a sense, than it would be to buy the grain, especially when there's no market from a peer-to-peer perspective. Because you're right, it is 1 DEC per grain, but you theoretically, when there is a peer-to-peer marketplace, it won't be 1 DEC per grain. That's going to be the maximum it would be. That would be the price that you would pay if you want to sort of get it from Splinterlands at the cost of like the seller of last resort. But more likely you're going to buy it from me and it'll be like a fraction of a DEC per, or from the marketplace of your region. And that's not yet. I think that's going to be around land 2.0. So for now, you're kind of right. So then what's the answer? You got to farm that grain. And apparently one plot of land being farmed effectively for grain is going to produce about as much grain as you're going to need to operate 2 plots of land. And that all depends, because it depends on which monsters you put on each plot of land. But in like general terms, that's about true. If you farm a plot of land well with good monsters, it should produce about twice as much grain as it requires to operate. So your farm is creating 2 and it's consuming 1. And that leaves leftover that you can pour into your other SPS operations. So that is going to be the path to which augmenting and sort of making it realistic and possible. And then you might say, well, how much sort of DEC and opportunity cost does the grain producing plot of land demand of me? Because there is DC you're staking into that. There's cards you're putting onto that plot of land. You're right. This equation is, let's say, non-optimal or lacking desirability so long as SPS is low in price. But again, if 1.5 does what it's supposed to do, it should provoke SPS price appreciation through DC supply reduction, which necessitates SPS flywheel burning. Again, there's a lot of assumptions in there. You got to watch several other videos to kind of fully elaborate on those topics. I think maybe you already get it based on the detail with which you've commented here, Cedric. But I would argue you can't make it so simple as I'm just going to burn DC to farm with my monsters. You got to think it through in a better way, where you have probably 5 plots of land, 3 of which are making grain, 2 of which might be producing. Maybe one's doing magic and one's doing SPS. Something like that. And then you're going to have to put, so there has to be a focus on sustainability, and that means your own grain production. You see some other things here in case I want to make sure I grab the rest. Also, if it's the case, people won't farm SPS and will only farm grains. Well, with the same situation, your plot would make 2,400 grains per day, minus 10%, tax minus 50% to feed your 5 workers, which is around 40%-ish profits, so around 960 grains and 96 cents. But you can't actually sell the grain to Splinterlands. That's not how it works. You just can use the grain or sell it like essentially through a deal that you work out. But there isn't a market where you do peer-to-peer grain sales. And that means for average player with land, the only way to make profits is by farming grain and not SPS. I like to hear about your calculations and what could be the economic implications. Thank you. I'm a big fan, by the way. Appreciate you, Cedric. Appreciate you for real. Thank you. And okay. So generally speaking, I think you're right. It's going to, and they've said this before, plot of operating land is going to require that you have more than one. You can't just have one plot of land and do everything. You can't even have one tract of land and do everything, let alone one region of land and do everything. It's truly the case that if you want self-sufficiency, there probably is nobody in this game that is going to be self-sufficient. I think maybe the last thought I can share with you, Cedric, is that apart from the idea that I just said, which is that sustainability can't come from one plot or even 2 or 3. Sustainability for your operation has to come from probably 5 or so plots. And I know for a fact that there was an award that's being offered for anybody who operates 5 plots of land on a single, like if you own 5 plots within your one account. I forget what the title is, but it's one of the prefixes, and that means to me that the team developers feel that it's optimal for players, small players, medium players, to aim at least 5 plots. And I think that seems clear when we start to unpack the math you're bringing. You need to have your self-sustaining supply of grain. You can't expect to buy it off the marketplace and still make everything work. Maybe when Land 2.0 happens and we can choose to sell grain plots, units of grain for far less than 1 DEC, that might be possible, or possibly SPS price appreciation might make 1 DEC purchases plausible, reasonable, acceptable. But given the numbers that we're working with, you're correct. That doesn't make sense right now. You need multiple plots in order to be self-sufficient. And one last note I'll add, you always have to remember that when you're operating land in Splinterlands to produce SPS, or when you're mining Bitcoin or any other crypto that you might like, recognize that sometimes the investment is over a long haul. The expectation from some miners, that's what we are, right? And when we operate land, we are miners in a sense, crypto miners. The question that we have to ask for ourselves and answer is, do you believe that the asset you're being paid in will be worth more in the future or less? And will the value of that future price exceed and satisfy the outlays to acquire it? Because it may and it might not. Bitcoin miners can be quite expensive. The energy can be quite expensive. The price of the Bitcoin that it's producing when you're operating the miner might not pay your operating costs. Maybe you're taking loss after loss after loss, but then as Bitcoin price spikes, this always happens with miners. Now, I've never been a miner of Bitcoin, but I've heard this online and through blog posts regularly over the last 6 years. And the same in some sense is true here with Splinterlands. If you value the SPS token and you think the price will be greater than it is in the future, sorry, if you think it'll be greater tomorrow or in the future than it is today, that should imply that you would be willing to operate to some extent at a deficit today to accumulate more so that you might have the increased opportunity of maximum gain. And whether it's playing the game and being rewarded with what seem like trivial SPS with every time we win the match, you know, this guy got 2 SPS. Is it worth it to him to be playing the game for 2 SPS? Depends on what you think the SPS is worth. If you ask him today, he might say no, but hey, that's Betelgeuse. Shout out to Betelgeuse. And then again, he might say, I believe it's going to one day be $1. I'm happy to accumulate every one of them. I'm willing to rent cards to play the game. And then with respect to that's rank battle, but then same questions around tournaments. Is it worth your time and attention? Is it worth your investment or not? Same with land farming. Is the SPS based on your math, the SPS isn't worth it, but do you think the SPS price is going to go up in the future? Yes or no? If yes, the math starts to change because you're willing to defer your reward. This is why I talk about on the channel the possibility of retroactive raise coming to your portfolio. Like, you're accumulating soulbound cards. They have no price value today. They have an intrinsic utility that should have a US dollar price in the future. Are you willing to fight for them and spend money and invest resources and time in order to collect those tokens with an expectation that one day they will carry a value that will compensate you for all of your effort? I am. I bet you are, Cedric. But that's the question we're all asking when we choose to farm. And there are ways you can mitigate your outlays so that you can maximize your possible future success. And when you talk, you're pointing at one of the big red flags. Watch out. Be careful your grain doesn't cost you more than your SPS. Otherwise, just if you're going to spend $1.20 on grain every day for 22 cents worth of SPS every day, just go buy, save the $1.20 and go buy, you know, the SPS directly. So that doesn't work. But if you can operate at a balance, an equilibrium where you produce the grain yourself and then you farm the SPS, there's a path still where you can be accumulating the resources you want, all the while reaching the place in the future and the opportunity in the future that you believe in. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that try to do what you talk about with farming grain and hoping that that's the path to profitability. And I think ultimately it may be, but for right now, I don't truly believe that it's going to be because of the lack of the liquidity. As I understand it, there's not going to be a peer-to-peer market for grain off the hop. So for that reason, I don't think the path to profitability will specifically be through the grain. I think what you're ultimately going to see is a lot of balls in the air, a lot of big things changing, SPS price accumulating, going up because of the flywheel, because of the DEC mechanics. And hopefully that begins to make it more interesting, more desirable, and people start reaching out for those reasons, not because despite the cost of the grain, because the SPS reaches new numbers and new highs. Just thoughts, really, but those are my thoughts on that. Cedric, thank you for the comment. I hope you have a great day, and everybody else, thank you so much for hanging out. God bless. Bye.